most gyms, right? You picture a gym. What is it? It's like weightlifting and biking, running, or stairmaster, or elliptical, or some fucking monostructural movement of some type. Like that's what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know how interesting that type of movement caters more towards a lower nature root chakra type of energy, right? So, you know, all gyms are designed this way. Very, very few gyms have, yeah, you have basketball courts, you have all this stuff. But, you know, when people say they're going to the gym, what do they mean when they say that? Right? Like someone says, I'm going to the gym.
Right. Right.
They're probably not going to do aerobics. They're probably not going to swim. They're going to lift.
Yep.
They're going to move iron. And, you know, to me, man, that's like, it's not the lowest vibration, but I feel like it's the easiest, lowest vibration to get addicted to or to get hooked into. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
If that makes sense. And I think the market shows it, right? Like when you look at supplements and you look at just the shit, steroids, on and on and on. Like steroids is permeated like every sport. But you look at that, and I mean, to me, like that's the proof. People spend billions of dollars just to look a little bit better. It's crazy.
Where do you think the addiction comes from? Like that's what I want to dive into, because like you're right, man. People get addicted to it, and it becomes like a way of life. It becomes a lifestyle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and why? Look, I've been dating the gym for a long time, and she's a fickle bitch, brother. She will turn on you at a dime. If you don't talk to her for 2 weeks, you've lost 6 months of gains. Right? Like that's been my world. And again, I only know my world.
Right.
But you had said something, you had posted a question. What was it? I had to get that out of my system. Fickle bitch, man.
Yeah.
She drives me insane, bro. Like, but that's the nature of the game, and I think that's what it was. It was like, why is it so addictive?
Right.
And you know, like one of the things that's been in my reality, like a motherfucker, the last couple months, is everything in this world is inverse, right? It's inverse. If I'm going to the gym for the right reasons, you know, then the inverse is I'm probably going to be a healthier individual. If I'm going to the gym for the wrong reasons, I'm probably going to do things like take supplements, try things I might not have tried before. If I'm not getting the gains that I want and feeding my ego enough, I may pop a needle in my arm or ass or whatever and take steroids, right? Because I'm being driven by the ego. Yep. I'm being driven by something that really has no meaning other than just the meaning I give it. And I think that's why it's so addictive, man. Because people fall into the ego, and it's the loudest voice in your head if you don't know how to control it.
For sure. And it seems to be that's what society kind of advocates for. You know what I mean? It adds, you know, false and fake and phony value to things like huge muscles and, you know, taking supplements and doing everything you can to get ahead. You know, it's that whole idea of, you know, you can't do it yourself. You need extra this, extra that, or whatever to be healthy and whatnot. And, you know, I think people fall victim to that and they get addicted to that. And anything that's pulling at the strings of the ego is going to be a battle in itself. And if you're not grounded, if you are not right with yourself, like it's going to be a uphill battle for sure.
Yeah, and it's meant to be that way, right? Like I can only speak on my journey, but I know from my journey, you know, when I take a supplement, or, you know, I do this and do that, you've got counterintuitive kind of motions, right? Like, what do you hear? No pain, no gain.
Yep.
Right. You got to put in the work. You got to work real hard. You know, the workout doesn't start until the pain begins. You know, shit like that. Yeah. Like, you know, I think it was Muhammad Ali that said some version of that. Yeah. But you know, like that's in the gym. But then you get outside of the gym and it's, I got a body hack. I got to take my BCAAs within 10 minutes of my workout. I got to sip my creatine halfway through my workout. Like, we have all these things that we do that we think are going to get us to the next level. But yet in the gym, it's the exact opposite, right? Like those are counter ideologies, right? Let me take a shortcut but there are no shortcuts,
Right. That's an interesting concept when you think
right?
about it. I never looked at it like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I mean, and that to me is the problem. Like that's the hook that gets you in because, again, guilty, nitric oxide came out and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try nitric oxide because,
Yeah.
I need to get more blood flow and somehow that's gonna make me, lift 10 more pounds because if I lift 10 more pounds, somebody's gonna give a fuck. Right. Like unless you a fucking power lifter, like
Right.
it trips me out, man. Cause like I see videos and shit and Joanna used to piss me off because I'd come home feeling all big and swole, and I'm like, yo, what I had on bench press, girl? And she's like, 400. And I'm like, that's like a world record. I can't bench 400. Come on, man. She's like giving me unrealistic numbers. You know what I mean? Which kind of
Right.
kill the whole vibe. Because if you said 400, well, now I'm a bitch because I didn't hit 400. But the point is she doesn't know and she doesn't care. Only I do, right?
Right.
Only I give a shit that I hit a 315-pound bench. Only me and maybe a couple other dudes in the gym that saw it, but then they forget about it the next day, right? So it's like you put all this time and energy, and you've got these combative ideologies that are pulling you in one direction, but saying you're awesome in this other direction. So it's like, to me, one of the aspects of ego is, ego can move in and out. Ego is like a chameleon. He can turn orange, he can turn red, he can turn blue at the drop of a dime. So when you walk into the gym, oh yeah, no pain, no gain, blah blah. You walk out of the gym, oh, I gotta. What's the quickest shortcut? What's the thing I can do that's gonna make these gains stick the hardest? And it's just, I don't know, man. It's that to me, at least in my journey, that to me is I've seen that, and it's like okay. And as I grew, right, like as I changed and stopped giving a fuck about things like that,
Right.
and we can get into this if you want to, but getting deeper into it and just kind of growing spiritually, it's like it doesn't matter. You take fitness truly is it's like stocks, man. Like nothing is linear. Progress is never linear, whether it's spiritual, mental, or physical. You have good days, enjoy them motherfuckers. Because whether you took a supplement or not, it was a good day, not because you took a supplement, right?
Right.
And then, you go into the gym the next day or a week later and you're at the fucking rock bottom and you feel like shit. And you're like, what am I doing this for? And you're questioning everything. On that day, that's just where you at. But it doesn't mean anything, right? The only thing that ever fucking matters in this world to me in this game is consistency. Consistency. If you consistently practice spirituality, if you consistently practice, good mental health, and you consistently are physical, nothing else matter. Everything will fall into place, and you'll be the absolute best version of you.
Yeah, that's I mean, to break that down, that breaks down to energy because it doesn't matter necessarily how much you're doing, but if you're consistently doing something, you're consistently pushing that energy forward. And the moment you stop, you're halting that progress per se. So yeah, I'm totally with you, and that's in every aspect of life, man. I'm so curious about a lot of this stuff because I've never been a big I've never been like, unfortunately, consistent in the gym my entire life. I don't know. It's a lack, some form of lack that I've had that I'm starting to get over now, in my older age. But like, where did that culture come from? Like the culture of gains and the culture of supplements and the true competitive aspect and real ego driven culture that is the foundation of bodybuilding and weightlifting today. Like, where'd that come from?
I don't know. I don't know the history. I can tell you. And again, I think we're '80s kids, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a '70s kid. Fuck, but
70s
grew
born,
up.
but you're an 80s kid. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah. Right. But like back then, bodybuilding was sort of becoming. That's when it kind of started to become a thing, right? Like wrestling
Right.
kind of started to blew up. Like, dude, wrestlers in the '70s were mostly like Superfly Jimmy Snuka, right? Like they were
Yeah.
they were like not good. Like Rock's dad. The Rock's dad does not look anything like The Rock. That dude was a little
No.
pudgy,
Yeah.
but that was the wrestler of the '70s. In the '80s, it sort of switched, man, and then becoming big and chiseled became a thing, right? And I think Schwarzenegger and I think Stallone. Stallone. Look at Stallone in Rocky One, man.
Yeah.
He was nothing like he was in Rocky Four,
Right.
right?
Right.
right? Like completely different.
Completely.
But I think that was kind of when things moved from, where they were in the 70s, where you were just a big strong dude, to no, now you got to be big and cut, you got to have abs, you got to have the big biceps, just the way Schwarzenegger and Stallone looked as they rolled out those action movies. Because I don't remember dudes looking like that, like Conan the Barbarian and shit. Like before that, I don't really feel like that shit was
Nah, I
around.
mean Schwarzenegger was like a freak of nature, man. Like when he came out, and what was that big bodybuilding movie he had? Something iron, pumping iron,
Yeah, pumping iron, I think. Yeah.
or something like that. When that came out, I know that had a huge influence on it, and him himself just being the character that he was, and to be that big, I think really really helped push it. But look, art imitates life. At the end of the day, and when you see stuff on the screen, and you're seeing movie stars that are these superheroes basically in the flesh, that becomes some form of idol worship in a way. And that created a culture in itself to everybody wanting to be Carl Weathers, or wanting to be Schwarzenegger, or wanting to be Lou Ferrigno, or Sylvester Stallone, those guys, right? Just massive human beings that are superheroes. They're killing
Forgot about the
everybody. They're
Hulk.
Rambo, they're Cobra. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it just became it became such a phenomenon. And then I think what that happens whenever you have a push like that, that's where the byproducts come in. Okay, well, how can I get like that? Shit, what were they doing? Steroids, and then the big creatine push. You got to have my creatine, and then obviously the one and only protein, right? You got to have so much protein.
Shout out to episode 3. Was that episode 3?
Yeah, shit. Yeah, shout out. And yeah, man, and it just became a thing, and it still runs strong today. And the worst part about it is just the indoctrination that goes along with it, because
Glad you said that.
yeah, man, there's so much misinformation about what your body needs, and how muscle was built, and what we're supposed to look like, and shit like that. And that's put us in a lot of people in bad situations. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said what you're supposed to look like, and the indoctrination piece. Because, bro, there's, ice. That's a common phrase in the fitness world. What is it?
Okay.
Ice, compress, elevate, some shit. Dude, it's been proven time and time and again that icing a wound actually prevents healing, doesn't promote it. So, but everybody does it because that's what became the indoctrination, or the common knowledge, even though, Pluto used to be a planet and now it isn't, and then it was and now it isn't,
Right.
right? Like things change. Like science, science isn't science unless it's disproving itself. But you can't
Right.
hold it to be altruistic and true, because that's not the point. It's meant to find its own errors. But going back to the conversation, man, like, you look at the way people are, in terms of, are you like, when you start working out, is it because you want to look a certain way, you want to be like Schwarzenegger? Like, what's your motivation?
Right.
Right? And the people that are in the gym, like the bro dudes, the dudes that are lifting in tank tops and cut off sleeves, and even the dudes that aren't that big, but you just see those people in the gym, they're all over the place. Right? Like, what's their why? What's their goal? Why are they there? It's all ego based. It's all most likely, and again, this isn't an all encompassing statement. This
For sure.
The most of the time, people are there to look better, not necessarily to feel better, and they're willing to put in an unlimited amount of hours to obtain something that may or may not even be realistic for themselves. Right?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, what it takes for me to look a certain way isn't the same as you, the next guy, or the next guy. Some dude may be able to do that shit naturally and put in 3 hours a week of work. It may take me 10, it may take you 20, right? But just the disconnect with the amount of time and energy, and the depth of the drive and the desire. And again, I used to be that way, bro. I used to watch the NFL Combine just to see what, like, dudes my weight were getting in bench, so that I can go to the gym and like see what I would do and how I stacked up.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
stupid, right? Like, just this like stupid competitive thing that means nothing, but yet it means so much in how you allocate your time and energy.
Yeah.
And to me, like when you go into when you're trying to be something that you're not, and you're having to take supplements and eat twice as much as you would otherwise. You
Right.
know, dudes eating at midnight, getting up at midnight or 2 in the morning to eat protein, right? And eating, you know, the casein in the middle of, you know, before you go to bed, because it digests better or longer and it breaks down and you won't starve yourself. All this bullshit, bro. All this time and energy for what? You know? And so it's like when you think about it in that way, and you start to like really go, who am I? What's the best version of me? If I just go to the fucking gym and do my thing for an hour and a half and don't obsess about it and don't weigh myself and don't take my shirt off and look in the mirror, like what does the best version of me look like in balance?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, if you can't answer that question, you're addicted. Straight up. You're addicted, because you should care just as much, or you should put just as much energy in your spiritual and your mental as you do your physical. And if you put way more in physical, which is most people doing what we've been trained to do, you're out of balance and it's not real. So who are you in balance? And you need to fall in love with that shit, right? That's the thing you need to be chasing. The best version of you in balance, not with 18-inch biceps and could bench 300.
All right.
Cool. Good for you. Good for you, man.
Well, I think, like, so, like, I think we all have gone through phases in our lives where we're like searching for something, and we've got these voids, right? And, mixed with insecurities and just all the things that happen throughout our life. And I think, and this is just speaking from the outside, like, I think a lot of times the addiction starts with kind of the notoriety that goes along with looking a certain way. They look at some, people get attached to a lot of superficial things because they add value to it because they don't have value in other places, or they don't have a lot of self-worth. So if they look a certain way, or if they start working out and they start to see progress in something, it holds more weight because they're not used to seeing progress and gains in other aspects of their life. So it becomes the main thing, even though it truly doesn't mean anything. It's very superficial. It's all on the surface. For them, it is something, you know what I mean? Because they're not used to actually achieving stuff. So then that's where the addiction comes in. It's almost like money in a way, You never had money, and then all of a sudden you start getting some money, you get addicted to it. You want to buy this, you want to buy that, because you've never had that. And then that becomes your semblance of self-worth, is how much money do I have? You know what I mean? And I think that's a huge piece of it, at least from the outside looking at.
No, 100%, 100%, dude. I couldn't, like, I remember when I first started CrossFit, it was like I was drawn to the competitive aspect, right? Because you can go and lift all day, every day in a gym bro setting, but all you're really comparing is to the dude next to you, right?
Right.
And that doesn't really mean anything, But if you can go into an area where you're doing the same kind of things, but you can do it competitively, that sounds dope, right? And I remember in my own journey wanting to get to a certain level, and that certain level being more important than other things in my life that should carry a lot more weight, but they don't, because you become hyper focused on this. And that shit is clicky, dude. Like you get into an area where you're working out with the same dudes, or you're working out with the same people, like people that, what is it, neurons that wire together fire together, right? Like it's the same thing with people.
Yeah.
You get into that world, and 2-3 hours goes by like that, because you're chatting, you're chilling, you're working, you're enjoying it. Homeboy did this, he pushes you to do this, and it's a great fucking environment, don't get me wrong, and I'm not knocking that shit at all, but it's, where's your mindset out? Where's your, are you able to focus and put the same time and energy into other areas of your life? You know what I'm saying? And that's where, again, yeah, people, and I think you were kind of alluding to this, is that, yeah, the physical is probably the easiest way, the fastest way to see change, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I can work on my mental, I can work on my spiritual, but that's usually not going to show me stuff back the way, yeah, if I go put a couple hours a week in a gym, I think I'm going to see more out of that. I would probably argue differently now that I'm thinking about it. Mm-hmm. I think that's bullshit, but But yeah, I mean, if you've never experienced gains in a gym, that shit's addictive. It's awesome to feel capable, but that's a healthy route. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to want to represent yourself. You're supposed to want to stand tall. You're supposed to want to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Look the best for your aspect, but for you, not for Arnold Schwarzenegger, not compared to to anybody else. I mean, I love playing basketball, but I'm not dumb enough to compare myself to Michael Jordan. But there's a
Right.
lot of dudes that want to be like fucking huge and their bodies aren't built for it. Their muscles, tendons, joints aren't built for that shit. And it's just it's sad to me because like eventually I've known a lot of dudes, man, that did steroids, bro, and there's not a lot of them I've seen that look good. Like, you know what I mean? That shit, that the bill always becomes due.
Yep.
And if you abuse your body, it's going, it's going to at some point turn its head on you if you don't kind of get your shit in check. But yeah,
Well, you said, man, like the physical is the quickest way to see progress. And I think because we've just turned into this microwave society, like that is kind of our correlation with something working, being good, right? If you could see something change, oh, then it must be good. If I, overload on this protein and I'm noticing after working out, I got more energy and I'm getting bigger, that must be a good thing. But like you said, the bill always comes due. And that's where we got that short sightedness because the damage that is happening to your body from the overloading of protein, the overloading of creatine, not obviously steroids, you're ultimately manipulating your body. And in any case, all across the board, because there's so many different examples of how we have just been conditioned and programmed to manipulate our body, it is always for the detriment of your body. We're not, our physiology, I don't care how big our bones are per se, we're not built to hold that type of massive muscle. You know,
yeah,
it's the origins of who we are as an animal in nature. Like what benefit does that do for us in nature? None. None at all. And just our organs and everything are not built to, that's, bodybuilders, they die young. Wrestlers. I mean, look, when's the last time you seen a wrestler in his 80s? You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like, I swear, at least every other month we hear about, guys we watched growing up passing away. You know what I'm saying? In
100%.
fact, I just watched I don't know if you saw the Vince McMahon documentary on Netflix.
Right.
They dive into that pretty heavy. And just looking at all those different guys that I used to watch when I was a kid, and majority of them are either gone, they can't walk, they look horrible. It's just, man, you're putting so much damage on your body. You know what I'm saying? And just from a health perspective, and just to keep it simple for everybody out there, like what I always say, the duality of it. I mean, there's an acid chemistry, and there's an alkaline chemistry, and everything we've talked about is on the acid side. And acids destroy, they're corrosive, they are destructive, and over time, it's going to show its face. Plain and simple.
Yeah, we I think in my own again in my own journey, right? Like you look at the root, the sacral, and the what's the one after the sacral? Jeez.
Solar.
Solar, right? The bottom base three. That is for all intents and purposes the body. And I think about that traveling up or sort of graduating through each chakra in terms of it being balanced and healed. And,
Right.
an overactive root chakra is essentially the huge bodybuilder, right? It's the person who puts so much time and energy into the physical, into the 3D,
Mm-hmm.
that they lose, they lose that balance. Well, when you graduate from that and you understand, that you need to be balanced and that, an overactive root is just as bad as an underactive root
Mm-hmm.
in many ways, right? Then you get into the sacral, right? And you get into the why, and you get into the why am I doing this? Who do I want to be? Right? What do I want to be? What you start kind of taking inventory, because I think a lot of this shit in the root wears off, and you sort of open yourself up to the whys, and then you figure all that shit out, and then you get into the solar, which is the I am. I'm confident with where I'm at. I don't need to prove anything, right? Like we talked about Jordan and LeBron.
Right.
You know, I would argue LeBron's a sacral. He's all up in that solar. I'm sorry, he's all up in that solar because he's cool being LeBron. Like
Right.
LeBron's good, man. Like, you know, he's good. He doesn't have that root like grounding that Jordan had. That is, I'm gonna take your soul and I'm gonna
Right.
make you pay for it, right? And so, you know, when you look at this through fitness and kind of this being an addiction, you know, when you get into the solar and you get into that point, you start to understand exactly what we're talking about, which is I don't need to be something I'm not. I need to be the best version of me, whatever that looks like. And you need to
Right.
be okay with it. And that's hard as fuck, man. I think that's hard as fuck for somebody who enjoys a gym and for somebody who wants, you know, not to put up big weights, but you know, I want to represent. You know, I want to be in a 2 plate club, like the kids say. Like I want to put up two
Yeah.
plates. You know what I mean? I'll be able to do that. Should be able to do that, and I think that you should. You know, but I think that what that looks like needs to be balanced within every aspect of your life and what you want to be physically. And that shit is hard, man. Because again, when you get around a bunch of dudes and you get competitive, and you know shit starts talking and DMX starts playing, you know, it's hard to hold back, man, and it's
Yeah.
and it's a good thing. It's just again, you got to be able to put it in perspective.
Well, it's like you said. I mean, who are you outside the gym? You know what I'm saying? If you establish who you are outside the gym, then when you walk in and you're around that element, yeah, you could live it up. You could have a great time. You could do your thing, and still be grounded enough to when you walk out. You know what I'm saying? You're still at a level and at a state of balance. But if you're not, then
Right.
that's going to completely tilt you in that other direction. And that's going to become, like I said, the addiction, your life at the end of the day because of the voids that are on the outside. Have you watched the show Severance?
Mm,
Have you heard about it? Okay, so
mm.
real quick, just a quick premise. So, long story
Yeah.
short, they create, there's this business, they create this kind of like elixir or whatever that they give their employees so that when they leave the office, they completely forget, they lose their memory of anything going on that was going on in the office. So they, in essence, live two lives, a life outside of work and a life inside of work. Right. And I guess the premise is there so you have a better work-life balance. Same thing with kind of what we're talking about in the gym. Like if you don't have that, gym life balance, I mean, that shit can completely take you off the edge because we're not talking about, that's the difference. Like money, yeah, money can go to your head and everything. But when you're talking about the energy and just the association with bodybuilding and being in the gym, like that is a very, like that really attaches to your ego, man. Like that could be a really destructive process if the other side, if the outside life is not in place, man. Ooh,
Bro,
because
I
the competitive aspect, you know what I mean? And and I know this happens with women too, but I feel like men probably deal with it more, just based on the culture of it. But like, yeah, if you don't get it in check, man, that could go off the rails quick.
yeah, nah, dude. I remember when I was younger and my heaviest, people were like, "Oh, what football team you play for?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't play for a football team."
Yeah,
But that shit felt good. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like, oh yeah, I got them big shoulders, and they think I play football. That's cool. Like
yeah,
my Joanna's like friends and shit. Be like, oh, what's he do? Because they just assumed that you were an athlete or whatever. But yeah, that shit feels good. And then 10 years later, when you got kids and you look at yourself in the mirror, nobody says shit like that anymore. It fucks with you,
yeah.
right? Like on some level, if you're not operating in the solar. If you're not operating in the I am, or you're not comfortable with who you are.
Yeah, I mean,
But
even if
then,
I mean, I would say like, because there's levels, right? There's levels to everything, and everybody likes compliments, man. And while that's attached to the ego, like I think there's levels in how you take it because like there's a difference between, you know, getting a compliment versus getting a, I don't necessarily want to say an insult, but something degrading in a way and it completely throwing your life off kilter. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody says, "Oh wow, man, you're 40 years old. You look like you're not a day over 25." That feels good, right? You know what I'm saying? But if somebody's like, "Oh shit, graying a little bit, that I see that hairline going back," something like that, and that fucks your day up, or like that fucks you up, that's the
Plants
telltale
a
sound.
seed. Yeah, plants a
Yeah, that
seed.
tells a tale. That tells you right then and there. Okay, you still got some work to do, right? But like I said, there's levels to it, right? I don't think any of us, and I'm speaking in generalities, but I don't think any of us are at that point where we are 100%, you know, balanced to where nothing gets to us and any insult would just be brushed off. Nah, I don't think any of us are to that point. But there's levels. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between well, that didn't feel good versus oh shit, I feel like fucking sleeping for the next 3 days and being depressed and don't fucking talk to me for a week. It's a big fucking difference.
Yeah, dude. This my son has your kid ever made you feel like a punk? Has that happened to you yet?
like nah, I got all girls, man. Not to say girls
Okay,
can't
all
do
right.
that, you know what I'm saying? But it's
Yeah.
just a different world.
So my son was or is an amateur boxer,
Yeah,
kickboxer,
yeah, yeah.
right? And he's had two or three, I think three amateur kickboxing matches, and before he was very much into kind of like lifting, and he cared what his numbers were in terms of his deadlift. Like he worked super hard to get a 400-pound deadlift, right? And he
Nice.
was like I think he was like 16 or 17 when that happened. But anyway, so fast forward to three amateur fights in, and I asked him, I was like, dude, what's your bench now? And he goes, why? I go, I don't know, I'm just curious. He goes, who cares? And I'm
Oh,
like, why? I'm like, why are you saying that? He goes, I can pretty much kick anybody's ass I come into contact with. You think I care what my bench is? I was like,
that's a flex.
you got a point, right? You got
Yeah,
a point. What and his, the point is what is all this physical effort for? To look good, to feel
yeah,
good? Like there's no practical application for it, right? His point is I kickbox. I learn how to defend myself. I learn the nuances and the art of fighting. That's where I choose to put my physical effort, and that has much more application than I could bench, 400, right?
right. Yeah,
And he was right, and I had nothing to say. But that for me, that moment, I'll never forget that shit, man. Because even though it,
yeah,
it's like seeing somebody put in the work, like watching him learn the sport and train for it and go through all the different things. And two, like I also like trained him for a little bit, getting ready for his first fight, and how he needed to train versus like a lifter. And it was fucking awesome to see. But again, it points to the fact that in true fucking nature, what is the point of being able to squat a lot or bench a lot? There's none of it. Like what he's doing, like he will be able to carry over that aspect. Like you imagine being able to walk into a place with your wife and know that if anybody stepped to you, you pretty much had it covered.
right,
Like
right.
you already knew exactly what you were gonna do based on his stance,
That's some
based on how
alpha
he was
shit right
holding his.
there.
Right, man. And it's like, like God, shit made me want to start kickboxing, man. But at the same time, I mean, we got to do what we love, and we got to love what we do.
Right.
And the balance in the physical world is just that. I mean, what works for you isn't going to work for me, and you have to be okay with that, and you have to be 100% on board with that. But you can't be that when you're locked into the root and you're comparing yourself to someone else and you're taking shit so personal, and you're looking at everything like I'm not enough when that's not what it's about. Like we're all enough. We just need to be okay with what that means.
Yeah, I mean that dives into a lot of things. Like from look, we live in a male dominant culture, society.
Ooh, that's a good segue, man.
Yeah, and
Ooh, that's a good
toxic
segue.
masculinity is a is a thing. Obviously there's different perspectives on that, but having all girls and living with a house full of women, females, for shit the last 12 years of my life, pretty much. I've just learned to look at things from a completely different perspective because my entire life, like I grew up in a family that looked at society just like I said in a male perspective. Everything is competitive. Everything is about sports. So my entire childhood, I was chasing something. Like I had an older brother who was the star athlete, and everything was measured towards what he would do. So I felt like I had to be the best in everything I did just to get acceptance within the people that are supposed to love me unconditionally. And that's something that's embedded in me. And it's been dissipating in the last 10 years because, I'm married to a woman who tells me all the time, like, who gives a fuck? Like she play, she'll play a game or a video game or a board game and she don't care if she wins. She just wants to play and have fun.
Yeah,
And
she's just there for the experience.
yeah, my entire life is like, no, I'm gonna go for your throat. I'm winning this shit. So
Jordan.
it's been a completely different perspective, and I've started to really ease up on that. But how many people, think of the percentage of people who, especially boys and men, that grow up in that type of culture to where everything is about, being the best. And if I'm not the best, then, I'm the worst. It's one or the other. There is no in between. There is no experience. The experience is only winning. You know what I'm saying? So, and that can fuck with you. That's traumatic because if you don't win, I mean, what it does, Jordan LBJ, we talked about that. Like for him, everything was winning. And it was, and I remember saying that quote from Dude in Cool Runnings where he's like, winning, I'm going to fuck it up, but it's something about winning is everything. And if I didn't win, then it didn't, then I didn't have any meaning.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy. That's not healthy in any respect.
And that's why it's $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
Because that's what people are chasing. Right? Like there's nothing on the other side. There's nothing. Right? Like you're never going to be big enough. You're never going to be fast enough. You're never going to be cut enough. You're never going to be skinny enough. Go on and on and on and on down the line because your ego has no end. It's like fucking space. It's like a black fucking hole that will lead you down a path and it's like a rainbow, right?
Yeah.
You're never going to find the end of it because it's an illusion.
Yeah.
It's just a fucking illusion. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, man, I mean, hearing about that from you, cause I'm very much the same way. I mean, my son's my son, but he's always been kind of a loner. So I basically hung out with my wife and my daughter all the time. And
Yeah.
I feel what you're saying because that's helped me, see the softer side of Sears.
Yeah.
As well, and help me in my journey of really toxic masculinity, because that's the thing I think that hit so hard when my son punked me unintentionally or intentionally. Yeah. I don't know. I need to ask him. Is that man? Is that you like what does that mean? What does it mean for me to be physically dominant but not even know how to use it? Like that's pretty stupid if you think about it, right? Like. Yeah. Great, man. You can move a lot and you're fast and you're strong, but you don't have any practical application of it. You can just say you do it in pieces, and that means nothing.
Right.
Right. It means absolutely nothing, and that's what's so, I guess, funny about it. Looking back on it now, from where my mindset's at, and having lived that life and been through that, it's like it's so much more peaceful. Just to accept yourself for who you are. Understand that when you walk into work, or walk into your home, or walk into the gym, it's going to be a different level of you, right? Mm-hmm. Some days are going to be 10, some days are going to be 2, some days are going to be 6. It is what it is. Accept it for what it is and just be as present as you can in that moment. And that's all you can do. Like detach. And that's what I've enjoyed the most in my journey, is just detaching from results.
Oh, yeah. Right? Nice.
Because when you're attached to results, it's just like the ego, man. It's a never ending fucking goal. Mm-hmm. But when you just enjoy the process and you can be present, and then the minute you walk out the gym, you're excited for the next thing, which is, maybe going home and getting in the shower with your wife, whatever. Like that's true freedom, and that's true balance, and that's where we all need to be.
Yeah, that's heavy, man. That's heavy. Because the result aspect of it is such a motivator for so many people, and it's never ending. It's like the labyrinth, man. It's like you hit one result. Okay, what does that mean? Well, shit, that just means we got to create another goal, and then another goal, and another goal. So you're constantly creating these illusions of a finish line, per se, that you got to reach every single time. And you're so focused on the goal that, you don't even give a fuck about the journey. That's one, like for me, who's never been a workout warrior, but who has implemented a lot of, stretching and calisthenics and, just not much weight training, but like self, what's the word I'm looking for? Like self fucking, I don't know.
Improvement.
Yeah, there you go. You know, physical self improvement, movement. You know what I'm saying? Just movement
Yeah.
into my life and making it a daily regimen. Like, there is no goal. Like for me, there is no goal. Like my thing is, it's a part of my life. It is a lifestyle now. It is something that I do because I know ultimately it's for the betterment of me, right? It's for the betterment of my body. And I'm not concerned about things that I was concerned about in high school. You know what I mean? Like when I was in high school, you know, there were goals. You know, there were things I was trying to do. I
Yeah.
can't. I think the most I ever benched, not that it matters anything, but it was 225. I think that was my
2 plates.
yeah. So that was my climax of weightlifting, you know, in high school or whatever.
Right.
But you know, that was the last time I ever really cared about that. But the
That's
journey
sad.
aspect is so big, bro, because when we're talking about health, we're talking about the betterment of your life and living the best life. You have like movement and activating your muscles and actually utilizing them throughout your entire life is a must, because if you don't use it, you lose it, you know. But understanding the balance of it to where it doesn't become an addiction or you feel like it has to become some form of competition to do it. No, just implement what you gradually get into and know that you can consistently do, because if you start adding those massive goals and then you stop, you don't attain them, and you're not in the right place, like that can be very debilitating as far as you're getting back into getting in the gym and stuff like that. You know, now you feel like a failure because you're not doing this much, or you're not doing as much as this dude, or whatever the case may be, or you don't look like this dude or that dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? You gotta look at it like a lifestyle. You gotta implement it. Oh, you know, similar to what I say about diet. You know what I mean? It's not gonna happen overnight. It's a long term thing, but just making it a seamless process at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, dude, and that's another aspect of ego is like your ego will make you forget where you started real quick, right? Like the when you're so results focused, when you're so goal oriented, you miss the micro rewards within sessions, within days, right? You miss the things that, yo, this was a little bit easier today, or yo, I
Yeah.
remember when I couldn't do 10 push-ups, I can do one, and now I'm doing 10,
Yo.
right? Like I remember for me when I first started CrossFit, bro, my max power clean was 185, 185, right? Last week in the gym, I touched and go that shit for 5, and it was fine. This is 13 years later. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But if I'm in a mindset of results and goals, I'm only comparing to what I did yesterday and not appreciating how far I've come and the fact that you're doing it in a more advanced stage of life in terms of being older.
Right.
Like the ego just erases it erases your gratitude, you know, because it just wants you to be in this spot. And the days, man, like even when I was younger, bro, the days in the gym where you actually walked out with your chest high and you felt like a monster were so few and far between. You know what I'm saying? Like they were so few and far between, but when they happened, yo, that shit fueled you for months. And that and I think that too is like you don't have to do that with a barbell. You know, you can do that doing like calisthenics. You could do that doing, you know, running a mile or walking a mile.
Right.
You
Right.
know, compared to like Joanna the other day was like, you know, 'cause she's been walking dogs and shit. She's like, man, like I used to be able to not even walk to the fucking top of the driveway or whatever and not get gassed. You
Right.
know, and now she doesn't even think about it. Well,
Right.
let's not forget that once used to be hard, man.
Yeah.
Because remembering that once used to be hard brings in the gratitude and brings in the perspective of it's not about how strong I can be or how good I can look. It's about, you know, being capable and enjoying my body and my body being able to service me and my loved ones,
Yeah.
right? Like, dude, my daughter's kid invited me and Joanna to play pickleball, right? You ever play pickleball?
I
I've never
haven't, but
played
I
before.
need to. Yeah.
That shit's like a national phenomenon, dude.
Right. Right.
Like it's basically like tennis, but a smaller court.
Yeah.
And you know, I played her boyfriend. I ran that motherfucker all over that court, dude. Beat
Nice.
his ass. And I don't say that in a prideful way. I say that in a I use that to go, good job, dude. like you move well for your age, but that's not by accident. That's
Right.
because, again, we put in the time. You're not a fucking guru by accident. It's because you put in the time. So for me, it was like that being able to. It's always one of the sayings that I always fucking gravitate towards is you go to the gym so that you can perform outside of the gym. You go to the gym so that you can perform outside of the gym. If you can't perform outside of the gym, you're probably doing the wrong shit in the gym. And so that to me was a testament of that. Like I must be doing something right because I'm moving laterally, jumping, hand-eye coordination, all this other shit that pickleball requires, and I'm doing it at a high level. Cool. That's dope.
Well,
And that's what it's about.
that's a great correlation to bodybuilding because, like, yeah, bodybuilding, you're a beast in the gym, but what can you really do with that outside the gym, right? And when you're talking from a health perspective, like, it's obviously extremely unhealthy, but yeah, you ain't gonna be running nobody all over the fucking pickleball court if you're a big time bodybuilder. Like, look at combat sports. The best combat fighters are not huge, bulky muscle guys. They are lean muscle guys. They are guys that are agile. They are ones that can move their limbs, and yeah, they have power, but it's not power doesn't come from the muscles. Like power ultimately comes from your legs and your leverage and technique and quickness at the end of the day. That's where power generates from. But people, they think big muscles means, super powerful. Like boxing is my favorite sport of all time. And I never forget, man, there was a fight. This was like I think it was '01. A guy named David Reed. I don't know if you heard of him. He was an Olympic gold medalist boxer. Cut, bro, like fucking chiseled. And he was fighting a guy named Felix Trinidad. I don't know if you've heard of him. Puerto Rican fighter.
Felix Trinidad, I've heard of. Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. And you look at Felix Trinidad, and he's like skinny, super lanky, right? And they're about to fight. And, I remember Felix Trinidad saying, well, he can't hit me with his muscles. And they fought. And, man, Felix Trinidad beat the shit out of this dude. Like, just obliterated. I think he knocked him down like 6 or 7 times in this fight. And I just seen it over and over again throughout boxing history. These guys that come in like Frank Bruno, big, massive muscle, super chiseled heavyweight, fights Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson just destroys this dude. It's just goes to show you, like what you said. Yeah, they're a beast in the gym. You get outside the gym, not so much.
Well, yeah, and I think that correlates too to dudes that are probably in a world they shouldn't be in. Right. In terms of, again, like if I'm, like for me, put it in my perspective, like the heaviest I got was 225. That's heavy for me. Right.
What are you about? 5'9", 5'9", 5'10"?
5'10", 5'10", 5'11". Yeah. Okay. Like that's the heaviest I got, but I couldn't move well at that weight.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I was, I was slow. It didn't feel good. It felt awful. But Mike Tyson, he moved well at his weight. Right. Like he could.
He's a freak of nature.
Right. Right. But like what I'm trying to say is that we gravitate towards the dudes that are naturally that way. Right. We gravitate towards the people and think that we can somehow replicate that when that's like trying to replicate the genius of Einstein. I mean, good luck. I mean, you can do as much puzzles as you want, but you probably ain't never going to be as smart as Einstein. Right. It's no different with a big buff dude. But dude, there was a similar story that I had real quick. Mm-hmm. My son's first fight. This dude takes his shirt off because they were doing like face-offs.
Yeah.
This dude takes his shirt off, and this dude is like jacked as fuck. Every dude in there was like, damn, and this is like a room full of dudes.
Right.
And then the dude he was fighting was a sloppy looking motherfucker. Took his shirt off, had titties and shit. No disrespect. Guess who won? That country motherfucker, fat motherfucker beat his ass all over that ring, man. And I remember looking at my son, I was like, bro, that's one of the things like that if I'm grateful for anything about CrossFit, it's the fact that it's taught me don't ever judge a book by its cover. Man. There are dudes that, and I think we've said this before, but there are dudes that look like they can't do shit and are phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
And there are dudes
Tyson
that look
Fury.
like
shit.
Yeah, there are dudes that look like they are just amazing and can't do shit.
No.
No.
And that's
man, he beat his ass.
That's a big problem because like society will look at those guys. They'll look at Schwarzenegger. They'll look at Stallone, guys like that and think that is the embodiment of health. You know what I'm saying? And
And
they will
masculinity.
associate that with, okay, I need to get like that if I want to be healthy. And not understanding and because it's not taught, not understanding the underlying aspects of health. Like, no, to get to that point, you are becoming the antithesis of health,
Hmm.
because everything it takes to get there is unhealthy. You're manipulating your body. Obviously you talked about adding the extra shit, eating unhealthy, eating way more than you should, putting so much strain on your body. We all want to get to a point where we retire and we can relax, right? Well, you get to that. How many people get to that point? That, whether you retire at 65 or 70 or whatever, hopefully earlier for your own sake. I know I'm going to retire much earlier than that. But then not even have the physical capability to enjoy it. Like that's what should be on everybody's mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, if
Yup.
yeah, you got this timeline in place of when you're saving all this money, or you're working for this company for so many years so you can go fucking, move to Boca Raton, or Costa Rica or something like that, and just relax. But then you get to that point and you can't even walk. You talk about doing water sports and you can't even get in the water. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you become an observer of life, not a participant.
Right. And just think of how fucking debilitating that is, mentally and spiritually and emotionally, knowing that you wanted to get to a certain place and now you don't have the physical capabilities to actually enjoy it. Or being a grandfather and not being able to play with your grandkids. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a fucking 7-year-old daughter that wants to play soccer all the fucking time. If I don't keep up, like, if then what am I doing as a dad? You know what I'm saying? If I can't even go out there and play soccer with her, whatever the case may be. Like, that's the way we have to start thinking, man. Not, let me go in the gym because I want to go fucking look chiseled and I want to walk out looking like The Rock and shit like that. Nah, man. Get yourself healthy. Get yourself, just to a point where you can enjoy life and be a part of life, as opposed to, you know, feeding your ego and, trying to get a whistle from chicks and shit, which isn't always such a bad thing, but that's another
No, it's not.
conversation.
No, it's not. And two, I mean, I think that as a soon to be grandfather up in this bitch,
Holla.
right? Like we gotta represent, man. Like age is not something that we go quietly into. Like it shouldn't be,
Right.
you know? Like I think that we've been lied to believe that we're the longest living humans to ever walk the earth. Another conversation. But
Right.
I think we're meant to live a lot longer than age 77, which is the average lifespan
Right.
of, I think, of most men and women in this country, right? I think it's like mid 70s actually. But yeah, man, like, dude, like I know right now, and I don't, and again, I'm not saying this shit with ego. Maybe I am, but if my son and my son and myself stood next to each other with our shirts off, I would argue I look better than he does right now in
Yeah.
this moment. And that's not a shot at him. That's just, I think, for when I think about his son looking at me, do I want him to look at me as, man, that's what I'm going to be like when I'm his age? I'm going to be weak and feeble. Like I had both my grandparents, my grandfather used to make me feel his bicep.
Nice.
It was
Nice.
weird because
Yeah.
he's like, he's like 70. He's like, feel my bicep. And that motherfucker, he had a little knot. He had a little
Yeah.
ball, a little tennis
Yeah.
ball. But like, that's the shit we owe, I think, ourselves. And let's not get lost in the sauce, man. People say this shit is selfish. I'm sorry, but being balanced in your fitness and balanced in your physical is one of the least selfish things you can do.
No.
Just
Yeah.
think about a parent if you're taking care of a debilitating parent at 70 years old, right? Because they made a lot of bad choices or maybe had some bad luck, whatever it is. But you're giving back to your kids and you're giving back to your family when you take care of yourself, because they're not the ones having to take care of your fucking
Yep.
ass when you're in your 70s or whatever, right? Like all these things should be goals, and all these things should be things that we want to ascertain for our own selves. And I believe that we're meant to be that way. We've just been duped into thinking that, oh, you get old, this is what happens. You can't do nothing. You gotta, whatever. And it's the furthest from the fucking truth, man. Dude, you know how many fucking people I follow on Instagram? These like 90-year-old people that are like deadlifting 315 pounds, man,
That's
at like
crazy.
90, 95 years old. That's insane, man. Like you talking about it being the best of the best, like the top 0.001%.
Straight
But
up.
that should be a norm, dude.
Should be a norm.
That shouldn't be an anomaly.
Everybody want that shortcut, man. I mean, look, shit. Look at us, bro. We mid to late 40s, right? I mean, let's. I mean, look at what we look like compared to what the average mid to late 40 motherfucker look like. And that's not bragging. That's an observation. Like, and look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe y'all could post some shit. Be like, nah, man, y'all look old as shit. Whatever. But I know that like we are, you know what I'm saying, we are in a good place. Or else we probably this is authenticate yourself, right? We probably wouldn't be talking about any of this if that weren't the case. But that, like I said, that's not to brag. That's merely a statement of like, look, health and being able to enjoy life, is very attainable. Like we are living testaments to that, us being experts in different areas, but along the same lines. And we both understand that up here, the mental aspect, the spiritual aspect is just as important. And, as we wrap this one up, I always think of like one of the first things you said about like, if your outside life ain't in the right place, like don't go into the gym, you know, without some form of balance or some semblance of routine that you got outside the gym, because that's just a recipe for fucking disaster.
Yeah, I mean, you being unauthentic, you hiding from something.
Right.
I used to look at big dudes and be like, "Yo, that's awesome." I'm so jealous, and now I'm
Right.
like, "What's
Right.
he hiding from? What's he hiding from? What's really going on, bro? Can we talk?" Right? But yo, good segue, man, because I'm looking forward to this next one because I got a lot to say about some masculinity and femininity, and I think it was a beautiful segue because yeah, we're talking about physical shit, and we're talking about protein, and we're talking about Mike and LeBron. But yo, we about to get metaphysical in this bitch with some masculinity and femininity. And I think that speaks to again what you're talking about is that, you a true masculine male isn't overconfident in his physical, isn't over dominant in his physical. He's confident and quiet and attacks when he needs to. That's a true masculine male, right? And a true feminine male operates under those same accords, right? Like she steps up when she needs to, and she's subservient when she needs to. And there's nothing toxic about a female who's subservient to masculinity because it works both ways,
Right.
right? It's not we're subservient to the femininity too, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that, bro, because
That's gonna be big.
yeah, I think it's a subject that has gotten a lot that's been shit on, and I know my understanding of it has deepened a lot.
For sure.
And yeah, I'm
Mine too.
excited to talk about that shit.
Yeah, man.
Especially with them girls, all them girls you got, man.
Yeah, man. I'm surrounded by femininity, but it's a beautiful thing because I've learned to embrace it. And once you embrace it, because we all have aspects of both, that is the key, man. That is the key to true balance, man. So I'm looking forward to it too, brother. Good
Yeah,
shit. Good shit.
I'm guessing if you listen to this, you're probably a dude because we're talking about like being addicted to fitness, and I just can't see a lot of women watching that. So I'm gonna drop this dime. It just and hopefully encourage you to come back next time. Like when it comes to masculinity and femininity, bro, if you are looking, you want to talk about playing your girl like a violin, all right? You need to understand and be able to operate in your masculinity and understand exactly what that means. We're going to talk about that shit next week because when you start doing that and you start being able to embody that, your girl will open up like a fucking flower.
Oh,
Tell me I'm wrong, all right?
no, you are not wrong, and
Right?
shit.
She will open up like a
They
fucking
gonna love
flower.
us after the next episode, dog.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to it, bro.
All right, we out of here. Peace.
Peace.